Welcome to Crying Inside, where every family story is told with real emotion and honesty. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss stories that could change how you see love, family, and inner strength. Let me take you to a morning at Batangas Marina. Bright golden sun, sparkling sea, as I step onto the yacht. The crew tidies up, smiling, then calls out loud, "Welcome aboard, ma'am. The owner is here." All eyes turn to me. Some faces freeze, others glance away. And my sister-in-law? Her smile suddenly falters for just a moment. If this happened in your family, what would you do? Walk away silently? Or take the seat you worked so hard to build? This isn't just a family story. It's a story about legacy, respect, and the quiet strength to defend your place. Morning sunshine spreads golden light over Batangas Marina. Gentle waves lap against the boat's side. Seagulls echo through the air, blending with the lively, festive atmosphere. Rows of pristine white yachts are docked side by side, flags fluttering in the breeze. Amidst this scene, Maria pulls her suitcase toward the largest yacht preparing to set sail. The wheels roll steadily on the wooden floor, mixed with the lively chatter of elegantly dressed guests. A few eyes begin to turn toward her, curious, probing, with a hint of surprise. Whispered murmurs spread like wind over the water. "She's really here? I thought she wasn't invited this year." Maria doesn't slow down, each step steady, as if she's been ready for this for a long time. As she steps onto the gangway, a uniformed naval staff straightens his hat, bows slightly, and announces loudly enough for the whole deck to hear, "Welcome aboard, ma'am. The owner is now aboard." That sound cuts through the laughter like a sharp blade. The entire deck falls silent for a few seconds. Some quickly look away, others try to hide their surprise. At the far end of the deck, Clarice, Maria's sister-in-law, stands beside the VIP guests, holding a glass of sparkling wine. For a moment, the perfect smile on her lips falters. A flicker of shock in her eyes, quickly hidden by a stiff lip bite. Maria saw everything. No words needed, no eye contact required. Just that moment alone told her her appearance had shattered the carefully crafted script someone had set. The sea breeze carried a salty tang, blowing a few strands of Maria's hair. She took a deep breath, letting the sound of the waves blend with her heartbeat. No one understood why someone who had been forgotten on the guest list suddenly boarded the ship as the owner. And the question hung in the air, from the ship's deck to the audience listening to this story. What happened between Maria and her in-laws? Why did a yacht trip, seemingly just an annual tradition, turn into a stage for truth, pain, and even restoring honor? To understand fully, we have to go back several months, when everything seemed calm, but was actually smoldering beneath the surface for a long time. Maria, 34 years old, was born and raised in the suburbs of Cebu. She used to be an elementary school teacher, known to her students as Ma'am Maria, with a gentle smile and hands always smelling of white chalk. Though she loved teaching, Maria always dreamed of something else, starting her own business. After years of saving, she left the chalkboard behind to open a small business producing and distributing organic products, herbal soaps, pure coconut oil, fruit jams. Starting from a small kitchen and weekend markets, Maria gradually expanded to local supermarkets and sold online to customers as far as Manila and Davao. It was during a delivery to a seminar in Makati that Maria met Clarence. He was a financial specialist from a well-off family in the capital. Clarence was gentle, spoke thoughtfully, and most importantly, never looked down on Maria's small business. In fact, he encouraged her to expand, register a brand, and find export markets. However, behind that love was a family story full of challenges. The Clarence family is considered old rich, families with traditions, wealth, and social rituals maintained over many generations. From lavish fiesta parties, Christmas Mass at the Grand Church, to family gatherings at their private resort, everything is organized as part of their legacy. In their eyes, family is a brand, and each member plays a role in preserving that brand. The one behind maintaining, and sometimes controlling, all these traditions is none other than Clarice, Clarence's older sister. At 38, Clarice has become the conductor of all family activities, From arranging seating at relatives' weddings, planning menus for holidays, to managing the guest list for the annual yacht trip, an event seen as a symbol of unity and a reaffirmation of the family brand. Clarice always appears with a polished demeanor, designer dresses, a friendly smile for the camera, and a soft voice that carries authority. No one denies her organizational skills, but many family members quietly understand that Clarice likes to control the narrative, both literally and figuratively. Who appears in photos, who sits next to whom, who is mentioned in speeches, it's all part of her master plan. For someone new like Maria, fitting in is far from easy. From the first day she met her husband's family, Maria felt the scrutinizing looks. No one said it outright, but she knew her background. Daughter of a small business family from Cebu, didn't meet the standards the Clarence family expected. She learned to pick the right outfits for fiestas, attend Sunday morning mass, and tried to chat with each member, even if sometimes she only got a polite nod in return. The first time she was invited to the annual yacht trip, Maria eagerly prepared gifts for everyone, but throughout the trip, she realized she was treated like a guest, always at the side table, excluded from family meetings, and barely appearing in the group photos. The second year, Maria was invited again, but only after Clarence suggested to Clarice that her name be added to the list. The experience wasn't much better. A casual remark from Clarice at dinner, "We should keep traditions in familiar places," was enough for Maria to understand that no one wanted to hear her ideas about changing the schedule. Since then, Maria stopped asking about the cruise. If invited, she would go. If not, she would spend time on work and family in Cebu. But deep down, Maria still wanted to be acknowledged. Not for the trip, but for her place in this family story. It was the cultural background of her husband's family, where legacy mattered more than personal feelings, that made everything complicated. In Clarice's eyes, Maria was just an outsider, despite carrying the Preston name, but in Maria's eyes, this was a family story where she was both the main character and the one pushed aside. And the bitter truth was, changing that wouldn't happen with words alone. Until something happened, and Maria realized this year's cruise was a chance, not just to reclaim the invitation, but to fight for her right to exist in the legacy she also helped build. That morning, Maria woke up earlier than usual. The new sunlight slipped through the curtains, casting a soft golden glow on the floor. She poured herself a cup of coffee, sat at the wooden table by the window, where she usually spent a few minutes in the morning reading news and checking her schedule. Her fingers swiped the phone screen, and she saw a new notification from Instagram. It was a post from Alyssa, Clarence's daughter, her niece, with whom Maria thought she had a friendly relationship. The photo showed a champagne glass clinking with another, with the cruise ship deck and fluttering flags in the background. The caption read, "Annual family cruise loading. Can't wait." Maria froze, her heart skipping a beat. The family cruise, a tradition the Prestons considered the most important event of the year, was coming up, and this was the first time she heard about it through social media. She put down her coffee, opened the messaging app, and searched for the Family Legacy Voyagers chat group. In Maria's memory, this group was created a few years ago to discuss the trip, schedule, and cabin assignments on the cruise. But when she searched, the group was no longer in the list. She checked again, then checked once more. It wasn't that she had left the group, she had been removed. It felt like someone just pulled the chair out from under her. Maria sat up straight, trying to stay calm, telling herself it might just be a technical mistake. She was about to message Clarence when the screen lit up, a new message. It was from Clarice. Just one picture, a snapshot of the cabin list, clearly showing each guest's name. In the portside guest rooms column, the name Maria C. Preston was crossed out, and right below it, neatly handwritten, was Coach Maribel. Maria recognized the name, the yoga coach Clarice often mentioned, who had met Maria once at brunch and asked, "Are you Clarence's assistant?" Yes. Right under the photo was a voice message, Clarice's voice coming through the phone speaker. "Well, at least the energy will be lighter this year. At least this year, the atmosphere will be more relaxed." Maria went numb. Even without speaking to her directly, Clarice didn't bother hiding her intention to cut her out. That evening, Clarence came home late. He put down his briefcase, poured a glass of water, and sat at the dining table. Maria cooked his favorite grilled fish, hoping for a chance to talk. As the meal was winding down, she asked softly, "Did you know the family is planning a yacht trip this year?" Clarence looked up, furrowed his brow a little. "Yeah, my mom mentioned it. Seems like the list is still being finalized." Maria put down her fork and looked him straight in the eye. "Am I on the list?" "Of course. Why wouldn't you be? I'll check later," he said quickly, then bent down to his phone, scrolling through stock notifications as if Maria's question was just a side matter. She smiled lightly, not pressing further. She knew later would never come. The next morning, while preparing to make a delivery, Maria received an email from the yacht operating company. The cold subject line, "Cancellation confirmation, cabin release processed." The brief content confirmed that the cabin had been canceled at the customer's request. The bold text at the bottom of the email caught Maria's eye, requested by Clarice 5, Preston. There was no room for doubt or self-reassurance that this was a mistake. Clarice had directly ordered Maria's cabin canceled. Maria printed the email, folded it, and placed it in a cream-colored folder in the drawer under her desk, where she kept her most important documents. That folder was originally labeled Taxes and Assets, but she knew she would soon rename it. She sat down, closed her eyes for a few seconds. In her mind, images from the past years flashed by, parties she only knew from photos online, family gatherings where she was left out, the strange looks when she tried to speak up. And now, this exclusion had become open, intentional, and carried out in writing. The only question left was no longer, why? But rather, what am I going to do about this? Maria sat silently for a long time after reading the cabin cancellation email. The ticking of the wall clock echoed clearly in the quiet kitchen. Then she stood up and walked straight to the small home office in the corner, where all the most important files and documents of her life were kept. She opened the bottom drawer and pulled out the worn wooden filing cabinet. Her hand skimmed over folders with colored covers. Tax year, distribution contracts, export orders, until stopping at a cream-colored folder thicker than the rest. The label had only one line, Tax and Property. Maria pulled out the folder and unlocked the latch. Among the papers was a stapled document, the yacht purchase contract. The edges of the paper had yellowed slightly, but the words Certificate of Ownership were still sharp. Right under the title, the name Maria C. Preston was at the top of the owner's list, alongside Clarence 5. Preston, co-owner. She clearly remembered the day they signed that contract. Back then, after 5 years of hard work building her organic brand, she finally made a big profit. Instead of buying a luxury car or a mansion, she decided to buy a yacht, not to show off, but to create real memories for the family, to organize trips that everyone could enjoy together. The accountant had advised her, "Putting both your names will make tax and trust fund management easier later on." She nodded in agreement, never thinking that decision would give others confidence to treat that asset as their own. When her finger touched the contract, memories flooded back. She saw herself in the early startup days, wearing an old vest bought at a thrift store, carrying boxes of organic products she drove herself to Tagaytay to deliver directly to customers. One rainy day, she had to take shelter at a gas station, using the hand dryer in the restroom to dry her documents. She remembered the nights spent labeling coconut oil bottles until 2 or 3 inch the morning. Every order shipped was a step forward, and every step was made by her own hands. No one in her husband's family witnessed those days, yet they were ready to enjoy the success and even pushed her out of the story as if she never existed. Maria slowly put the contract back into the folder, but this time she didn't lock the drawer. She placed the folder right on her desk, always in her line of sight. At that moment she realized, this wasn't just about being left off a yacht trip. This was about being erased from the story of the legacy that Clarice and some family members were trying to build. A story where Maria was the one who laid the foundation, but they wanted to tell it like she was never there. The feeling of being excluded no longer made her sad like before. Instead, it brought a cold clarity. Maria understood that if she stayed silent this time, there wouldn't be a next time. Her name would slowly disappear from every event, every official memory of this family. And the yacht, the gift she bought for the family, would forever be called the Preston family legacy, no longer linked to the one who created it. Maria closed the folder, stood up, and stepped out onto the balcony. The sea breeze brought the familiar salty scent from afar. She took a sip of her cold coffee, eyes fixed on the horizon. A plan formed in her mind, clear and irreversible. This year's departure day was Saturday, at Batangas Marina. Maria decided she would be there. No warning, no one inviting her. She would step onto that ship, not as a guest, but as an owner. And this time, everyone would have to see the truth. She placed her phone on the table and opened a premium ride-hailing app. The trip from Cebu to Batangas wasn't short, but she was ready. Maria calculated. Plane ticket, hotel near the port, outfit, all would be prepared quietly. Inside, she was no longer the woman trying to please everyone. Now, she was the one who knew her worth and was ready to stand in her rightful place. Maria smiled, soft but firm. This time, she wouldn't ask for a seat. She will walk up and sit in the seat she herself created. On the morning of departure, Batangas Marina was much busier than usual. The sea sparkled silver under the sun, waves lapping against the ship's side, mixed with the whistle of the boat and bursts of lively laughter. Maria pulled her suitcase straight toward the Sea Legacy yacht stock, the Preston family's pride every summer. The wheels rolled steadily on the wooden floor, her steps firm and confident. Just a few more steps to the gangway, Maria spotted Clarice. Her sister-in-law was standing with a group of VIP guests, holding a mimosa glass, wearing a cream-colored fitted dress and a perfectly practiced smile. But the moment Clarice's eyes met Maria's, that smile faltered. A flash of awkwardness passed, then vanished, replaced by calm, as if nothing had happened. Those standing around Clarice subtly shifted closer, forming an invisible circle of separation. They continued chatting, but their eyes kept sneaking glances at Maria, curious yet suspicious. Maria didn't stop. She adjusted her bag strap, kept her back straight, and stepped onto the gangway as if ignoring that wall. As soon as she stepped on board, a crew member in a Navy uniform approached, adjusted his hat, and spoke loudly across the deck. "Welcome aboard, ma'am! The owner is here!" That announcement silenced the entire deck for a few seconds. Everyone on board turned around, some widened their eyes, and whispers spread. "Wait, she's the owner? I thought this yacht belonged to the whole family." Clarice still smiled, but her lips trembled and her fingers gripped the glass so tightly it turned white. Maria walked straight onto the deck, nodded quietly to thank the crew, then looked out to the sea, completely ignoring Clarice's presence. What Clarice didn't expect was that her phone was still live streaming the departure. The whole moment, from the owner greeting to the forced smile, was captured on camera. Just seconds later, comments started flooding in. "Is this Clarice's sister-in-law? Wait, so she's actually the owner? This family just got interesting." Clarice hurriedly tilted her phone down, pretending to adjust the angle, but it was already too late. The truth was out, and no one could take back the rumors that had spread. Maria took a deep breath, letting the sea breeze flow through her hair. No need to argue, no need to debate. She knew she had reclaimed her place with just a single, loud greeting across the deck. That night, the banquet room on the Sea Legacy yacht was glowing warmly under golden lights. White curtains fluttered gently in the sea breeze coming through the windows. The long dining table was covered in satin cloth, set with sparkling crystal glasses and silver cutlery. The scent of wine, grilled beef, and pastries blended in the air. Maria sat near the end of the table, silently watching Clarice at the center, surrounded by close family and a few notable guests. She still held the demeanor of the lady of the house, upright posture, bright smile, and a voice loud enough to draw every gaze. When dessert was served, Clarice raised her glass and lightly tapped the crystal rim. The room gradually quieted. "Legacy," Clarice began, "is for those who truly belong, not just by name, but by heart, loyalty, and contribution." Every word rang clearly, and Maria knew all too well this was more than a toast. It was a velvet-wrapped arrow aimed right at her. A few discreet glances flicked toward Maria before looking away. Maria put down her spoon and took a deep breath. Then she stood up, gently pulling out her chair with a soft click that echoed through the quiet room. "I'd like to add something about legacy," Maria said calmly, loud enough for everyone to hear. Clarice froze, her glass paused midair. Maria pulled a leather folder from her bag, opened it, and took out a sheet of paper printed with a law firm's letterhead. "This is a Zoom call transcript between you and the family lawyer dated." She placed her finger on the bolded words and read aloud each one. "She's not blood. She shouldn't own a family asset." The air in the room felt sucked dry of oxygen. The sound of waves offshore was crystal clear. Clarice opened her mouth to say something, but didn't get the chance. Maria continued, her voice steady but firm. "And here," she set down another stack of papers, "is the purchase contract for the Sea Legacy yacht. Owner, Maria C. Preston. Co-owner, Clarence V. Preston. The initial payment was made entirely from my personal account. The money I earned comes from the organic business I built from scratch." A few people at the table started whispering. Harold, who rarely interfered in family matters, tilted his head toward Clarice and asked, "What's this about?" Clarice forced a smile. "I just want to protect tradition. Keep everything within the family." "And what about me?" Maria interrupted, looking Clarice straight in the eye. "I'm Clarence's wife, a member of this family. The one who bought the property you're calling a legacy. Yet you deliberately erased me from the story." This time, the whispering grew louder. One of Clarence's cousins spoke up. "I think Maria's right. If she's the owner, why isn't she involved?" An aunt sitting across nodded. "She's never been mentioned at the ceremonies. Now I finally understand why." Clarice stiffened, lips pressed tight. At that moment, Clarence, who had barely spoken all meal, slowly set down his glass. His voice was deep and heavy. "Maria's right. I've been silent for too long. Every time Clarice excluded you from events, I noticed, but I thought if I stayed quiet, everything would fix itself. I was wrong." Maria looked at her husband, not with triumph, but with acknowledgement that he had finally spoken up. "Legacy isn't just a name or tradition," Maria said, addressing the whole table. "Legacy is the truth. It's the hard work of those who created it. If you want to call this a legacy, at least tell the full story." Clarice lowered her head without replying. The whole table fell silent. Only the soft clinking of cutlery on plates and the sound of waves hitting the ship's side outside could be heard. But Maria knew from this moment on, no one in that room could pretend things were the same anymore. That night, after a long and heavy dinner, Maria returned to her cabin. Outside, the waves continued to rhythmically lap against the ship's side, as if trying to wash away the evening's tension. She sat by the small table near the window, hands wrapped around a lukewarm cup of tea. The light from distant lamps on the shore reflected on the water, stretching into long, flickering streaks. The door quietly opened, and Clarence stepped in. He didn't speak at first, just leaned against the doorframe, his eyes weighing every word. Finally, he walked over and sat down across from Maria. "I've thought a lot," he began, his voice low, wearing the weight of exhaustion. "I want to make things right. I'll transfer the full ownership of the yacht to your name, only yours." Maria stayed silent for a moment, her eyes fixed on her husband's face. Then she gently shook her head. "This was never about the title. It's about being seen." Her voice was quiet, but every word was clear. "I don't need a piece of paper to prove that. I need to be recognized as part of this story." Clarence swallowed hard, his shoulders sagging slightly. "I understand, and I'm sorry for letting you fight alone for so long." Outside, the night wind carried the salty scent of the sea. Maria knew Clarence wouldn't come forward to apologize, and she didn't expect him to. For the rest of the trip, Clarence kept his distance. No more challenging looks or veiled remarks. Any communication between them, if it happened, was just indifferent nods when they happened to pass each other. But what Maria didn't expect was the change in some others in the family. The next morning, while Maria was standing in the coffee area, Uncle Harold, who rarely interfered in family matters, approached her. He placed a hand on her shoulder and softly said, "You've done what many in this family have long hoped to see. Not everyone has the courage." His eyes were sincere, without a hint of hesitation. The aunt who sat across from Maria at dinner the night before also came to see her. She pressed her lips together, as if weighing her words before saying, "I owe you an apology for never asking the truth." She didn't say more, but Maria understood it was a rare admission in a family that always put saving face first. Even Alyssa, the niece who accidentally revealed the yacht trip on Instagram, came to see Maria one quiet afternoon. "I didn't know things were like this," Alyssa said, her voice trembling slightly. "I just want to say I admire you. No one else in the family has built something from nothing, like you have." Maria smiled, a smile not of victory, but of relief. The atmosphere around her had changed. Not everyone was on her side, but she was no longer invisible. They saw her, in a way she had longed for all these years. On the last night before the yacht docked, Maria stood alone on the upper deck. The moon hung low, shining brightly, reflecting on the water like countless silver shards. The sea breeze gently swept away the last of her tension. She knew she couldn't change everyone, at least not right away. But she had reclaimed the most important thing: the right to exist, to be recognized, in the story she herself had laid the foundation for. And this time, no one could erase her name from it anymore. A few weeks after the yacht trip ended, Maria returned to Cebu. The seaside city welcomed her with fresh mornings and the slow pace of life she loved. Instead of letting the past events fade away in silence, Maria decided to do something different. She sent invitations to a special group of people. Not all were blood relatives, but they were the ones who had stood by her during her toughest times. On the card, bold letters read, "Brunch for those who belong by spirit, not by blood." The brunch was held at a small seaside cafe Maria had known since her early days starting out. A warm space with a long table covered in a white cloth. On the table were plates of organic salad, crispy toasted bread, and fragrant coffee. The guests chatted and laughed. No one had to prove their place. No one was judged by their background or title. Maria sat quietly at the head of the table, looking around and realizing this was the family she had chosen for herself. A family connected by trust and respect, not by blood. While everyone was enjoying dessert, Maria's phone buzzed. It was a message from Alyssa, Clarice's niece. The short message brought a smile to Maria's face. "Aunt Maria, I just want to say I really admire you, not because of yachts or money, but because you built everything with your own hands and your faith. I hope one day I can be as strong as you." Maria read the message again, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. She didn't need everyone's approval. She only needed the seed of respect and understanding to start growing somewhere. And today, that seed had appeared. As the brunch was coming to an end, Maria stood up and raised her glass. There are times we get pushed out of the table, pushed out of the story we should have been part of. But the lesson I've learned is not to just fight for a seat at someone else's table. Build your own table. The room fell silent for a moment, then applause broke out. Some wiped away tears, not because of the story itself, but because they saw themselves in those words. Maria knew life wasn't always fair, and family wasn't always a perfectly safe place. But she also understood that true strength lies in choosing to keep your dignity and self-respect no matter the circumstances. This story wasn't just Maria's alone. It belonged to anyone who had ever been left out, overlooked, or had to prove their worth. And now, I want to hear your story. Have you ever been excluded by your own family? What did you do? Thank you for taking the time to watch today's story on Crying Inside, where every family story carries real emotions and deep lessons. If this story touched your heart, please hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next touching family story from the Philippines. We truly believe that behind every smile is an untold story, and everyone deserves a place to share. You can leave a comment below to share your thoughts or tell your story. Maybe that story will become a source of motivation for someone who needs it. Once again, thank you for being with us. See you in the next video of Crying Inside, where pain is understood and inner strength is celebrated.